first for both of you here, you get this really unique opportunity where you get to work with almost the entire ensemble in a consistent environment. So it was kind of making me wonder if you could compare and contrast the actors you get to do those interrogation scenes with. So is there any one actor where, I don't know, your process is just aligned and you were in sync the second you sat down to do those scenes? And then is there another one you can name drop who, challenged you to adapt and kept you on your toes the most?
The thing about this show is, and you have to give our producers and our casting director, Deanna Brigidi, so much credit, because she brought together such a powerful group of young actors. Mm-hmm. Troy and I are the old guys. Like we've been around the block for a while. But to see, young actors who really care about the work and young actors who really want to bring a strong point of view. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes it does clash. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, we're grooving right now. I think when you clash with a younger actor, it's typically because your processes don't necessarily line up, or they're just not as curious about the way of getting a result, and they're more focused on just getting the result. But so many of these young actors, they're just incredibly talented at coming in with a strong idea and a strong take and being present. And if it doesn't align with us, like, that's okay, because there's a thing called editing. And if on the other side of the camera, like, we're giving them weird looks, they're gonna use a different take. So these kids are bringing it. They're bringing it, and some of them we gel really well with, and some of them it's like, dang, what is wrong with that kid?
Yeah.
Itself, who's who.
When you have such a large cast like this, you have so many different personalities, right? And so you have to mesh. You have to. It's all going towards the show. It's the beginning to the end, right? So you all have to kind of like show up and do your work. But there were a couple of guys that this season that I was humbled to appreciate, because I saw myself in these guys when I was their age. None of them came in with an attitude, because you coming into a train that's already successful is already on 100. So now you got to find your way onto this platform. And you really have to kind of like step up and shine, because everybody on this show is doing their work. They're here to put on a good show. So there was no egos. That was surprising, because I think I had a little ego in the beginning when I was coming up. You know what I mean? But everybody was willing to help one another. Everybody was willing to step to the side and say, "Hey, let's run these lines." And they were asked, they some of them asked David and myself, "Hey, how was that?" And it's like, "Hey, do the work, man. It's there. You're here for a reason. You earned it. So let's go and play, and let's go and shine."
Those were lovely answers, but I'm not letting either of you off the hook. I want you to name drop one actor who threw you a curveball and surprised you. Actually, I'll put the spoiler warning up at this portion of the interview, so you could talk about it freely. What's one actor who just like really shocked you in the room with something special?
Reed, he plays so many. Scotty. And a lot of the young kids, they don't have a lot of experience when it comes to, being on a stage like this. But he really surprised me to the point where I had to step back and gave him a little twinkle here and there, like, "Hey, good job." Just to reconfirm that, it's not easy being around the director, the producer, the writers. When you're on stage and when you have that spotlight on you, sometimes it can get intimidating, not to say that he was, because he's a beast within himself. He's a musician, he's a singer and everything. But when you come onto a stage such as this, you kind of, you're a little more reserved, right? So, but once he got warmed up and everything, it was just like, wow, okay, you really, really shine. Put it like this: no one was an ass, if that's what you're looking for. No one was an ass on set, okay? Listen.
Exact opposite.
It's hard to have such a large cast like this and no one be an ass. You know what I mean? We would not be in that environment anyway because we're much older than the kids on the show. So we had our own kind of like, little kind of group that we would initially hang out with. But just being around the kids, everybody was just open and having fun. What do you say, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, they're true artists. I mean, I don't think, I guess I can speak for myself. I wasn't really encouraged to pursue the arts, 30 years ago. And I think kids nowadays, they have access to so much. Like if the kid wants to learn how to play piano, he can pull up YouTube. If he wants to learn how to play guitar, he can join a group and get in a guitar group online. Like I think over half the boys, if not more, are musicians as well. Singers, guitar players, drummers, in bands. And I think, when you're dealing with artists, they approach it from a completely different way because it's about creating something artistic and it's about creating something beautiful. And they had the privilege of seeing how the first season worked and seeing how, the story that we were trying to tell. And they come in and they have a lot of information that they've processed and they've brought to the table. And so I think these kids are really, really talented. And I think that people are going to be really, really, I guess, encouraged by what they did bring in their performances.
All right, before they kick me out of here, I'll squeeze in one more for your characters in particular. Now, they've got like a lot of secretive, unspoken plans and intentions going on. So, and like some I'm aware of at this point. I'm sure there's more on the horizon. But when you're playing characters like that, what kind of, I guess, serves as, the main anchor for you, where no matter what they're up to, no matter how their plans shift, that, that is always at the core and driving their decisions?
I think it's information. I think it's data. I think it's the research. I think the overall good is learning why teenagers do the things they do and what they do if the circumstances are somewhat controlled. I think especially nowadays with teenagers, there's just so many distractions and so many little dopamine fixes that they get that they sometimes forget how to live their lives. Troy and I both have kids and we see this generation and how many just distractions there are. But to put, a group of young men and young women in in an environment where there are no distractions and they do have to deal with real life, you learn a lot about human beings and you learn a lot about the teenager's perspective.
And you also learn about yourself because you were once a teen. Mm-hmm. So it's reminiscence of when you came up in school and boyfriends and girlfriends and all that good stuff. So, it reminds you of it reminds you of yesteryear, as they say. So you'll enjoy it.
How about for your character though? What's the anchor? What's backing up all of his decisions that he makes along the way?
His morality sort of conflict that he has within himself, because he's dealt with a lot of trauma within his personal life that kind of helps his decision making on his job. So emotionally conflicted and necessarily wanting to see a positive outcome to these groups of kids. He has a kid of his own, so he really wants to see justice, and we're still in the mindset of Gretchen's plan and her vision, and we want to see that prevail. But over the episodes, we kind of see that that's diminishing a little bit. So the moral conflict that he's dealing with, he's struggling with, is going to be pleasantly revealed at the end of season 2. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see the journey that Dean took to get to where he is going to get. So, yeah. Well,
I liked what I got from him this season, but I'm very curious to see where their paths go in season 3. That is a very different place for the two of them to end. All right.
You'll enjoy it.
I must leave you. Thank you guys for your time today and congrats on season 2.
Thank you. Appreciate you.